Hello.
Hi.
What's up?
How are you? I'm a little rough right now, but I'm Sammie.
Where you from, Sammie?
I'm from Baltimore City. East and
Baltimore.
pretty much west.
Primarily, where would you say you from?
Actually I'm from West Baltimore, but as like I got a teenager, East Baltimore, then I grew up. So I could say East, but I was born West, but then like I grew up East.
What was growing up like for you?
Growing up for me was a challenge, because of my sexuality. It was a little different. I've never really changed who I was. I've always been the same. You know how you have like some closet queens that like try to like hide in the closet and try to act like they're masculine and stuff like that. So I was always who I was, and I guess growing up it was like I found out who I was through other people. Like, why you act like a girl, or are you gay? So all those questions made me do the research, like, you know what I'm saying? And I realized, okay, oh, like the other men, stuff like that. So it was okay. Got into a lot of fights, but after that, you have to gain your respect. You got to put the work in. So after that, it was cool.
How old were you when I guess you came to that realization of your sexuality?
I pretty much always have known, but I guess I can actually stamp that at about maybe 6 or 7.
Really?
hmm
How old are you now?
Well, I'm 40. I just turned 40 yesterday.
How old do you feel?
I feel, well, 35.
Is that
Yeah, I don't. They do say
is
your
that
age
is
is in
that
how you
is
feel.
that physically or mentally?
I'm gonna say physically.
Why is that?
Well, my whole life I've been a dancer. Um, I had graduated from School for the Arts, so I've always been like active and in shape. Was able to jump and leap and split and stuff like that. So I've always been energetic. So 40 years old, it's not old, but you bones up the age. As you get older, I don't really have that yet. But I do feel a little older because like I probably can't dance as long as I used to. Then with like smoking cigarettes and using drugs stuff like that, it takes away your breath. So, but other than that, I'm in shape.
Mentally, how old do you feel?
Uh, Mentally, actually, I feel a lot younger. Actually, um, I feel like I haven't really grown up yet because I really haven't found out who I am. Fully. You know,
Hmm.
but in time, it's going to happen. But I have to get a clear mind in order to do that. So I have to go to treatment and get myself together, and that will be sooner than later.
How long have you been dealing with, I guess, substance abuse?
Um, well, substance abuse, I guess, is like alcohol is a drug too, weed is a drug. So I could say I started smoking weed maybe about 13, 14 years old. Um, and then the harder drugs like heroin and cocaine, maybe like 25, 26.
What made you want to do harder drugs?
It was actually for a monetary reason. Growing up, like being gay, sadly but true, we're looked at as sexual objects. So, a lot of us, especially back then, were soliciting our bodies, prostitutes, stuff like that, for money. And that's what I did, and back then it was good money. You make hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And when growing up, I used to always look at these other older transsexuals and gay people and say, "Oh my gosh, well she doesn't work. Well, how does she have this Benz? Or how does she have this nice house? And no social services have to pay for this. You know what I'm saying?" So, and I found out it was through sex work, and so I tried it, and I was so surprised. Like, excuse me, just me putting on a wig and some girl, just putting on some girl clothes, hundreds and hundreds of dollars. You know what I mean? I mean, hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So it was like, wow, this is pretty, easy for something that you do anyway, sometimes for pleasure. But then down the line, it was like, oh, this is the dark side. you know, because it always is fun in the beginning, but they always say all good things come to an end, you know, or all good, or everything that looks good isn't good, or anything that glitter, everything that glitter isn't gold. So I met a guy named, I want to say H, and he was a white guy, and he had a lot of money, and his wife was like going through like health problems, and she had a hysterectomy and stuff like that. So sex with them was like non-existent, but they loved each other to stay together. She pretty much knew that he would go out and frequent prostitutes and stuff like that, and it was really weird, but she knew. And actually, she knew that he liked men, you know, transsexuals, and he got high off of cocaine. And you know how it is sometimes for a white guy to come in. I mean, that was weird, but you know, that was the most smallest space you could have went through, and you just could have, you know, people just do things just to be nosy. But that's that. But he would come around the stroll, and he, like I said, he got the cocaine, and it's kind of hard for a white person back then to cop in the hood. So he would get one of the girls to cop for him. And this particular night, he kept getting burnt. Like, they kept on taking his money. One girl actually had put their hands on him and took his money. So when he came across me, it was like 2, 3 in the morning, and he was like bleeding, like somebody had attacked him. And he was like, please, 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 can you please help me get some cocaine? I had my last $100. You know, the last girl, you know, see what she done to me. I'm just trying to get high. And can I trust you? So I was like, of course. So I said, I'll leave my purse if you want me to get it for you. So I had got the cocaine for him, but I didn't indulge. So when I did that, he gave me $100, you know. And once he did it, and it was real, he was like, can I please get your number? Oh my gosh, thank you so much. That's all I wanted. And he would call me like 2, sometimes 3 times a week, you know. And that was a quick $100, sometimes $200 when he would call me a day. And then, you know, he started being like my sugar daddy. He took me out shopping, you know, he was working, he had a good job, and his wife had a good job too. She was the manager at Verizon. And she would give him money, and he would give me an allowance. Like, it got to the point where like I could call him and say, well, my birthday's coming up, can I get this? He would give me $400.
Did y'all have a physical relationship as well?
Yeah, for the money. It wasn't, you know, it was just for the money.
Was that in the beginning, or was that alone?
Not in the beginning. Not in the beginning. It was just, I would just cop for him, and then he would go, and then he would call me if he needed something else. But then he was like, well, you know, do you party? And I said, of course, so I'm out here. And I would get my weed and my little drink, and we would get a hotel room, and we would stay sometimes 2 days, and he would make sure I'm good, and he would give me the money, and I would actually make money off of him by giving him, I would say, well, I'm gonna get an 8-ball. The 8-ball probably would be $150, but I would tell him it's $300, you know, like that. And he'd say, well, give me 2. So I would make $300 off of that, 6, and, you know, plus the money he's giving me. He probably gave me $500 for the night. So I was making money off of him. And then sometimes I wouldn't even have to go out. I would just, not, as long as I dated him, I would be good for 2, 3 days. You know, until one day, I'm gonna say like a year, almost 2 years down the line, he got his taxes, and he had about like 14 grand. And he had brought like $5,000 to the room. And he let me, he bought my food, bought my cigarettes, bought my weed and everything. I got him a few 8-balls. He gave me $1,000. And I was happy, you know what I'm saying? And I would just sit there with him. I gave him a blowjob here and there, but he really liked to smoke. So he was like, if you smoke this with me, I'll give you more money. So like I said, for a monetary reason, I was like, there's nothing to it. I could, you know, just smoke it real quick and just get my money. So I did it. So he passed it to me, and I hit it, and I just blew it out, and I was like, okay, where's my money? And he looked at me like, because I didn't feel it. I wasn't high. I didn't hold it in. I didn't do, I guess, do the technique to smoking coke. And he said, no, you got to do it like this. And I've been doing it like this and holding it in for 15 years. You know, so that's how I started.
Since that time to now, have you ever been drug free? Or
Yeah.
what's the longest time you've been drug free?
3 years. I was clean for 3 years. Actually, not too long ago, I relapsed in 2022. Yeah, 22 or 20. Yeah, like 22, maybe 20. Yeah, 22, early 23. I had relapsed. I had two jobs, money, a boyfriend. You know, I was actually really, really doing well, and lost once again monetary value. It might be a trigger and maybe a thing that I need to work on about money. Um, Made me relapse. I had like $8,000 on my Cash App. I had like 7,000 some change in my Bank of America, and I was incarcerated. I had this 7 on 10, and I didn't really know about locking phones and stuff like that. And I lost my phone, and somebody had gotten to my phone and got my Cash App and all that. And I felt like defeated because I lost all the money. Instead of me just calling somebody and they saying to be okay, you can get it again. I used, and actually this is the place where I got the hit from. And once I got high, I felt so bad, so I cried, and I didn't use again for 8 months because actually I was working in the recovery field and working at the Marriott waterfront, right at the hotel. So I didn't use again because I was nervous about getting urinalysis and stuff like that. So I didn't use again. So once I got away with it, addict's mind is very tricky. We can out trick the drug what we really can. And I thought that, oh, well, I got away with that one time, I can get away with it again. And they say one is too many and 1,000 is never enough. And I thought that I could trick the system, but once you do it that one time, you're gonna have that craving. The behavior is gonna show up, and that's what happened. Because my personality shines, and I'm so, I'm such a people person, and I'm so outgoing that people wouldn't think that I was getting high. They wouldn't even piss me or whatever. So I was like, oh, I can do this. But the behaviors, what I'm saying? So now I'm getting up early in the morning all the time. I'm not eating my food. I'm starting to lose a little bit of weight. Now the groups that I sat in to talk about NA and staying clean and helping yourself bores me now. At first I was the one that was participating and I'm raising my hand and I was so into it. Now it's like, what time is it? Because the boys go in at this time. So mine was more of behaviors. And then all of a sudden my house manager was like, Sam, can we get a urine? And I was already hip to the game, so I already had the old guy that didn't get high a bottle of his urine. And when I put it in the cup, it was clean. And he was like, Dad, you're clean. But looking at me for my behaviors, he knew that I wasn't. So he knew that I had did something. So they were actually trying to trick me into, you know what I mean? It was crazy. But yeah, and I really just told him myself after a while because it was like they tried to set me up and they tried to put drugs into the urinalysis to make me dirty because they couldn't figure it out. So once they did that, I said, you dumb motherfuckers, I know I wasn't dirty because the same pee that I used the first few times you pissed me is the same pee that I used. I know it wasn't nothing in that piss because it would have been there the last time. Because I done bought the guy pee, I done told him myself. And that's what happened. So that's why I'm here today.
What motivated you to stay clean those 3 years, though?
Life. Life. Um, just productivity. Just being, living a productive life and just being a positive product of my environment also. In society. Just living and, seeing a different life outside the four walls, the four corners. Travel, clothing, men of different colors, light skin, dark skin, chocolate, vanilla. You know what I mean? It's like, damn. And then you can see the difference between the guys who got high and the guys that were clean. You was like, God damn, I'm not getting high. You know what I mean? And then you see the caliber of people that you attract, and you see the quality of people that you can be around. You know what I'm saying? And you don't have to be around those so-called fiends or junkies. You know, you could be in the rooms with people that are clean, that are doing some things, they got money, that's not always begging for dollars. You know what I'm saying? They say you are who you hang around. So that was another thing. And I didn't want to be the burden of my people that I hung around. So I didn't want to be the bum bum. I didn't want to be the one that you got to always give money. You got to always pay Sam's way. You got to always, I didn't want to be that.
How'd you first get introduced to heroin?
Through another homosexual who really just used me because for his game, knowing that if I was new to the game, I wouldn't need as much. So whatever I didn't use, he would get. And that's how it was until the addiction progressed, and now I need it all. So that's how that was. And I was going down Buns and to the club, and I had gave the guy $20. I was in the shower, and I was like, well, can you just give me 2 bags of weed? And he wound up getting a bag of weed and a bag of heroin. And I was like, well, what is this? And he was like, honey, that is dope, honey. And if you do that dope one time, you're not gonna want to do smoke no weed again. And that's what it was, and it was good. And I threw up, and I was high as shit, and I would just do that. You know, not knowing about the illness and what can happen to you and stuff like that. And all of a sudden, it was, man, that was crazy. It was gay pride. And I was trying to go out with my friends, you know, and not get high and not use stuff like that. But I felt sick. He never told me the downfall of heroin. He never told me that you can get sick, you can get ill, that this can happen, this can happen. The only thing that I knew was it was a good feeling and I wanted to use it. I never knew that if I did it so many times and then I stopped, what would happen. I didn't know that. So that's what I found that out, and then I stopped that. So I didn't like the feeling. So I just stopped doing heroin and I just did cocaine. You know, and then I was like, when I did the cocaine, it was like, I started like kicking tweaks. So I was like, what can I use to bring me down? So it was like, they was like, do a little bit of dope. So I would do both. That's how I wound me again.
And how old were you when you first studied the heroin?
Actually, I started heroin for cocaine.
Oh wow, really?
And then I stopped. So I'm gonna say, like 23. And I had like it wasn't long. I had like about a few months. I remember like 6 months that I did it, and then I stopped. Once I got the illness and all that stuff, I stopped. Because it was like, with the heroin, it was more physical. So I couldn't just not do it. I had to do it every day. Once I had that habit, I had to do it every day, and I didn't want that. Like, as soon as you wake up, you don't even want to brush, you wash your face, you need a shot. And I didn't want to live like that, like something with no brain just chasing me like this, you know, and you couldn't get nothing done.
Are you scared of the drugs that are currently on the street now?
Of course, because, you know, you never know what's in them. You know, when I do my drugs, I usually go to someone that I know, or I usually have people that have done it, that tried it, or that is in my presence, that is actually doing the drug, and I can see the effect. And then some people are shooters, some people are sniffers, some people tolerance is more higher. So I will see people that have high tolerances and see what one pill would do to them, and then see if it's safe or not. You know what I mean?
How do you take the drugs that you use?
Intravenously. You know, I was hip at first, but I figured like this is the better way for me because you get higher, you get high quicker, and if you just take care of yourself and you don't share needles, you use clean tools, you will be good if you know what you're doing. You know what I mean? You won't have a big hole in your nose, you can breathe. You know, I mean, yeah, it's crazy. Sniffers, I mean, they think it's a little bad, I would never shoot anything. But when you get that stuff up your nose and that stuff eats your nose and stuff up, you're done.
I have a question. Adding this lifestyle of intravenous drug use plus your sexuality, how does that heighten the risk of STDs? Or does it?
Well, for me, you know, it does that, but you have to want to do it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it depends on if you want to prostitute and you want to get high. Just because I'm getting high doesn't mean I have to trick. But when I was tricking, you know what I'm saying, it was easy for me to trick, and then the drugs made me go get the money. It was like a go-getter thing, and it also took my mind off of what I was doing. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to say it made it easier, but it made it, you know, easier.
Is that how it was even in the beginning when you first started doing the sex work? When you
No.
was just smoking
In
marijuana?
the beginning, it was fun. It was like I was young, I was beautiful. Um, I liked the attention I got from men, and it wasn't like feminine men. It was like masculine men. Oh my gosh! And I would have. It was more towards the sex. It was like, damn, is this how they had fuck women?
Did you dress up in women's clothes just because it was for the money, or you did that before even getting into that
I
line of work?
did it. Well, I dressed like a woman because in the ballroom scene, I'm in the house of Quran, and in the gay world, the underground world, we had this thing called Vogue. And when I was Vogue, I would dress up. And that was the category that I walked. I walked Bush Queen and Drag's Vogue, Bush Queen and Drag's performance. So that's how the drags came in. And then once I finished performing, I would take it off. But then once I know that you can make money dressing up, and the money is more easier to make, you can dress like a guy. I just like a girl to trick.
How do you support your drug habit now?
I have like a little odd job. You know what I'm saying? I have a beautiful family. I'm really smart. So I make it work, and then like I have like a little following, and I have get money from TikTok and Instagram. I'm from rapping. I'm like locally famous here. I was in a shade room. Some celebrities have sent me money. Some they noticed me, so like I'd be in the vicinity, and people would just give me money. Like, here, take me $20. Can you do a rap for me? Or I'm gonna catch you $50. Can you go live with me? Stuff like that. So.
Would you still dabble in sex work?
Huh?
Would you still indulge in sex work?
Yeah, I would. The right price, um, safe. You know what I mean? Because if I'm gonna have sex anyway, why not get paid $500? Why not get paid $400 instead of just having sex and then have nothing?
If somebody approached you and wanted to do it unsafe, would you be willing to do that, I guess, for the right price?
No, because I'm not gonna put a price on my life. You know what I'm saying? Even though I really am, and condoms can break, even in sex work or in real sex, where people just have regular sex, so you say things can happen. But I'm not gonna put myself at a risk when I know I can prevent that for any amount of money, because that money can come anytime. And then I can, get the money and blow the money. But what I can get, I probably couldn't never get rid of.
Have you ever introduced anyone to hard drugs?
Never.
Why not?
Because it's not showing a friendship. It's not being a friend. This game right here is not for anybody. So I wouldn't dare bring a person into this world, into this atmosphere, knowing what it has done to me. And knowing if I do introduce him or her to this lifestyle, it's gonna happen. It's not an if, ands, or buts about it. It's not that it's going to just skip him. If you get high off this drug and you get a drug habit off of heroin and cocaine, you will lose everything. You will lose your self-worth, your sanity, your family, your home, your money, your job, everything.
Is it dangerous out here?
Of course.
How do you stay safe?
Don't be out here. I don't be out here, what I'm saying, like, oh, be out at night, like, I'm out here in the daytime, like you are, and I'm going to go home soon. Like, once I leave here, I'm going home to my bed, in my air.
What time is the latest, I guess, you would feel safe to be outside?
Oh, it was fun. About 10. About 10. By myself.
By yourself. You said you've been homeless before?
Mm-hmm.
How long were you homeless?
Which time? I'm gonna say the longest I've ever been homeless like down bad and messed up, I would say like 6 months, 6 to 9 months.
What was that experience like?
Mm. It was weird. It was weird, and I had a significant other, and you can tell that he has been there before, and I haven't. And it was like crazy because he was okay with the experience.
Mm.
Like, and reality hit me one day. And it was like, I can't do this no more. Like, I have to be in a bed. I have to be comfortable. I have to be inside. I have to be, no, I can't do this. You know, 'cause I hate the bugs. I hate, like, I was sitting over there doing my thing, and it was like ants rolling around, and I was like, I gotta get rid of these ants. You know what I'm saying? So imagine rats and cats all running around. No, I can't do it. And then it's like, it's so many diseases, and you got people that are not good people that would just, say if you're in a big house with no locks, you are susceptible to anything. People can just come into that place 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, you have no locks from there, and just blow your brains out. Or just, you know, they could be watching you for a moment of time and then get you. You know what I'm saying? They could be hiding in the bushes. And you come in there, you got your little money, your little drugs, and as soon as you close the door, you turn around the lock, they're there right there. You know, it's too late.
What's the
So,
most violent experience you've gone through?
baby, we ain't got time for that. We ain't got time for my experience, baby. I done had a few. I done had a few. But, I
What's
was
the
gonna
first
say
one
this.
that comes to mind?
A few don't came to mind, but I'm just gonna say this. Well, one time I was out and I was tripping or whatever, and this guy had approached me. He gave me $100 for anal sex, and he offered me weed and he offered me drinks in the car. And when we got to the hotel, he gave me the money. We had sex, and when I came out from the bathroom, I saw a towel on the bed. I didn't really pay any mind. I'm thinking that was the towel that he used maybe to wipe off or whatever. So I'm putting on my shoes, and he went to the towel, and it was a gun. And so I just immediately froze up, and I'm like, oh my God, this is how I live, this is how I die. And he was like threatening me, calling me dumb. He was like, oh my God, you didn't know what was in that weed, you just straight smoked it. You didn't know what I put in those drinks, you just drank it, you just called me stupid and dusted me down. And eventually let me go. 3 years later, I got into a guy's car. He offered me weed, he offered me drinks, and gave me $100 for anal sex. When I went into the bathroom and I came out, I seen a towel on the bed. But when I seen the towel on the bed, 3 years ago popped into my mind, and I immediately ran for the towel, and there was the gun. This was the same guy that did this to me 3 years ago, but this time he grew a beard and he grew a cruddy bush. He no longer had the clean cut shave and the deep waves. And when I grabbed the gun, I was like, oh no, you won't, not this time, baby. I remember your ass. And he started laughing. And the gun wasn't even real. So come to find out, that was his thing. They like to do his game that he played, that he preyed on us, and you know the mental, you know, shit that he was, you know, fucking with us on. So yeah, and that's crazy because that could have been real. That gun could have been loaded. He could have shot me. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that opened my eyes too. Even though nothing happened to me, but it could have happened. And you know, it's some story that's worse than that. But I just wanted to say that because you never know, and you gotta pay attention because you have people out here that's so crazy and they wear disguises and they be a representative sometimes. Like you have some guys that might talk like you, and I can be so turned on, and you know, because I'm sapiosexual, and your intellect and your mind, just the way you speak, can get in the girl's pants. As soon as you get in that car, you could be like, yeah, yo, tomorrow, you know, change your whole demeanor, and it can be a whole change, and yeah, it can be a monster, but you know, people practice that. Like that shit we practice over time from being neglected, from being rejected from women, from not being the jock in school, from being the ugly duckling, from being the fat kid, and girls not giving them attention, so they go out and they prey on killing women, for hurting their heart, and shit like that, and they go out and they be these these gentlemen with flowers and then get you into a place, honey, and then change their whole demeanor, honey, and they break the flowers and they take off the fucking wig and they got a bald head. I mean, it's just crazy. So,
Have you ever actually been, I guess, physically assaulted during sex work?
um, yeah, yeah, I have. I have. I've been pistol whipped. I've been raped a couple times,
Mm.
but I'm pretty strong. You know, I'm not a woman, so even dressing up like one for a man, so I can really fight. So I can really handle a man. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like I'm a woman and I'm physically weaker. You know, I don't have a chance. Oh, I have a chance. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I've had guys that have done things and I had to beat the shit out of them and stuff. But you know, yeah, pistol whip. Like in that instance, I couldn't really do anything. I had to get him later on down the line. But yeah, you know, rape trying to take advantage of me. You know, robbed. I had one incident where it was like 5 in the morning, and I'm out there doing my thing, and the guy had pulled up, and I got in the car, and he said he wanted a blow job for $60, and we were going to go park somewhere. And when we parked, the back seat, the whole back seat from the trunk came down, and two guys was back there with guns. So, and it was just like a shock. But yeah, things happen out on those streets, baby. You know, we gotta be careful. And
Have you ever got justice for any time you've been a victim of
no,
some
no,
type?
no, no.
Why not?
Just retaliation. I just retaliated in that way, but not like as far as legally.
Hmm. How much longer do you see yourself out here living this lifestyle, Sammie?
No, not long. Not long. I mean, as far as getting high and stuff like that, not long. Not long. Because, like I said, I turned 40 yesterday, and really want to live my life again. And I know that I can do it because I've done it. And I know what life is like. And I know this is not life. This is not even living. This is just existing. And I know that I'm smart. You know, I skipped a grade. You know, I was in high school at 12 years old. You know, so I think that mentally I was always young-minded. So, you know, me being intelligent was like a curse and a good thing. Because it was like I was so smart that I didn't think I could learn anything else.
Hmm.
You know, I was that kid that was always finished first on tests, sitting there looking crazy, like what can I do next? You know, I was 4 years old in the first grade.
Hmm.
And I remember I had to do we had a book called Bit by Bit, and that was the first grade book. I did a month and a half in the first grade, and I was in Look Again, and that's like the third grade book. So I was reading like third grade read level in the first grade, and I was 4.
Hmm.
So really, really smart and really talented, can pick up stuff like that, have a good memory. But me thinking I knew everything, it was like when I got into a place like this, it was like I didn't know anything. You know what I mean? And it was like, damn. So it was like curious because it was like a challenge. So I wanted to learn.
Hmm.
You know, so I guess I was Curious George. And I wanted to learn everything about the streets. Oh, so he does this. Oh, let me see. How much do he got? Okay, let me try it. Okay, that does what to you? Oh, let me try it.
Hmm.
Like that. Never knowing the bad effects, you know, and people want to see you down. They don't want to see you up. You know, and that's the sad part. You know, and even when you are so-called down, they want to see you even farther down. You know, they want to see you 6 feet under.
And
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? You can be fucked up, homeless, you know, underweight, you know, and they still want to bring you down.
Hmm.
You know, so I know it's not a good place. And what hurts me the most is I know. You know, that's what makes it hard for me to be around my family. But I did go see my aunts on the day, thank God. But because I know better. You know, I know this is not who I am. You know, I know this is the slums, and I don't belong here.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? People say it all the time, like saying, get out of here. You know, even the hustlers that try to give me the drugs, that they're selling the drugs, they be like, Sam, I hate hearing you saying.
Hmm.
Because you are so much better than these streets. You're so talented, man. Like, if you get clean, you're gonna kill them. I'm telling you, like, you gotta get. So, and I think that's love coming from a dealer that's selling you the drugs, and he's like, not even wanting the money. He's like, man, just go ahead and get something together. So he's willing to use me as a client to help me. You know what I mean? So I know that I'm special, that I'm somebody, and I'm worth my life is worth living.
What do you think your purpose in life is?
To be a testimony for other people to help.
Hmm.
And I know that A helps B helps A the most. So I know when I help people in the world, I'm gonna be helping myself as well. So for me to shed light, I think for me to go through this experience, so I can be the testimony and be the voice and to teach people what it's like and what you don't have to do. You know what I mean? So, and I haven't had it bad.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Even though I might look bad and people might think so, I haven't really had it bad as probably other people. Because I still have a family. I haven't burnt my bridges. I can go to my father and say, they give me $100. I can go, like I went to my aunt today, they gave me all these snack bags. They gave me this pink bag, and that's where it's coming from. Gave me this pink bag full of snacks and $50 and was like, we love you, Sammie.
Hmm.
We want to see you more. We want to see more of you. We love you. So I don't have to be out here. You know, I don't have to live like this. But right now I'm stuck, and I'll get it when I'm ready.
What do you think is a bigger problem in Baltimore right now? Homelessness or substance abuse?
Both. Both. Because the substance abuse makes you homeless. You know what I'm saying? The substance abuse makes you homeless over time. They have a thing called, they say it's called being a functional addict and all that stuff. I don't really believe in all that, but you know, if once you start getting high and you get bad, you're not gonna pay your bills. You're not gonna want, it's not gonna become a priority. You know, living, getting high can be a priority. You know what I'm saying? So, and that costs money. You know, you're not gonna wanna go to work because you gotta get the dope to get out the gate. If you don't have it, you're not going to work. You're gonna try to get that dope to go to work. You're gonna call out, you're gonna be late. Yeah, it's gonna come before everything.
How much drugs do you do daily?
Enough, and I'm trying to find some more.
How much does it cost you to do the drugs that you do?
I'm gonna say about 150.
A day?
Yeah. Yeah, about 150.
Wow. Again, Sammie, how much longer do you see yourself out here? Because you definitely
Much.
have a lot of potential.
Thank you, baby.
And you say you're TikTok famous, correct?
Yes.
If somebody wanted to, I guess, follow you, how could they reach out?
They can follow me at Sammie _ versus, which is BS. So Sammie _ BS _ Samia, and that's SAMIA, and I will pop up.
Going back to your 15-year-old self, because no one knows Sammie like Sammie knows Sammie. What would you have said to yourself to make you never do drugs a day in your life?
Just say no. That's it. There's nothing else you can be said. Just say no. It's like you don't want anything else. Just say no.
If you could say something right now to someone to motivate them to be the best them they could be, what would you tell them?
I would say, baby, you do not have to set yourself on fire or tear yourself apart to make somebody else feel great. Your life is worth living. You are important. You are here for a reason. When you were in that nutsack, baby, and you swam to that uterus, you won the race. Out of all those sperm cells, you won the race, baby. You got there first and cracked that egg, baby, okay? So your life is worth living. You're here for a reason, and don't let other people deter you from what your dreams are supposed to be and what your life is supposed to be made of, okay?
And with that being said, we want to
so
thank
much.
you for your time. We want to thank you for your honesty.
Thank you.
And most importantly, we want to thank you for your story.
Thank you so much.
Thank you again, Sammie.
You're welcome.